Hello everyone, my name is Tiffany Saunders, and for my occasional speech I am going to give a tribute to my aunt. I want young women, especially young women of color, to feel like they are enough. I speak my truth about past abuse. I no longer hide it. I speak why I got into that situation, and I speak why I survived to be who I am today. My aunt was a woman full of life that lived her life right up in your face with no regrets and with no shame about anything she did in her life. She was the one who caught you off guard with this huge tattoo on her back that said Mandingo's ass, that was surrounded with music notes. But at the same time, she was the glue that held the family together. She was our rock. Before I die, I want to be able to live my best life. If my aunt had not been such a strong, influencing person in my life, I probably would not be where I am today. I probably would still be weak and broken. 6 years ago, this would have been a very difficult speech to give. Then my aunt had just passed and I was still living a lie. Growing up, I felt as long as I had her, nothing else in the world mattered. If I was feeling pain, I just surrounded myself around her and I absorbed her energy to be strong. But she somehow always seemed to feel my pain without me even having to speak it. I would go around her and she would just kiss my cheek and hold me as I attempted to hide the tears and pain I was feeling for so many years. I covered it all up as long as I had her. But then she got sick from cancer, and at the young age of 50, she died, and I was left to battle my demons alone. Growing up, my mother has always been in my life. It wasn't until I was about 16 when her and my stepfather split up. My stepfather has been in my life since I was 3 years old, and he's a great man. To this day, I still call him my dad. Whenever I'm talking about my dad, I'm always referring to my stepdad. It's just that growing up, my parents fought a lot because mainly it was about money. There was three of us. I was the stepchild. I had a brother and I had a sister that were younger than me. So one minute my dad would want us to, well, he would want my mom to stay home with the kids. And then one minute he would want her to go to work. So it was like whenever my mom would go out and get a job, it became an issue and the fight started. So by the end of those fights, it normally led to my mother being put out the house. And of course, I'm the stepchild, so she goes, I go. And it would lead to us walking down the highway, calling my grandmother, who lived 35 minutes away, to come and get us. Now, my aunt plays into all of this because when I was upset, I called her. When I wanted school clothes, I called her. When I just needed somebody to talk to, I called her. I spent every waking moment I could with my aunt. So, my aunt was just a small town girl. And at the age of 18, she packed her bags and she left for the big city. The city that I'm from, I can't even really call it a city, the little town that I'm from, it's in Virginia. It's in the country. A lot of people, you drive straight through it. But for some reason, like I said, my aunt had this personality, this bigger than life personality. So when she turned 18, she packed her bags and she left. She moved to DC. And in the 80s, DC was rough. It was filled with drugs. And here it is. She's this small town girl in this huge city. And she managed to survive and blossom and pretty much take DC by storm. There were so many people that knew my aunt and loved my aunt. When I went to DC to visit her, I mean, it seemed like everybody just flocked around my aunt. And it was funny because my aunt, I was probably almost 15 when my aunt decided to get her driver's license. So 15, that would have been 1995 when my aunt decided to get her driver's license. All these years, she had been living in DC, maybe 15 years exactly, because my aunt, once she left once she left the small town that we're from, she did not look back until I was born. And I even later found out that my aunt had a son that she gave up for adoption. She had him while she was young. And I only found out because my mother was jealous of the relationship that me and my aunt had. So she told me out of anger. When my aunt died, I wanted to look for this son. I wanted him to know just how loved she was and how much love she gave and the type of person that she was, that she would just make you feel good about yourself without even knowing what you were dealing with. But at the same time, I did not want to disrespect my aunt and find this child that for some reason, unbeknown to me, she had to give up. So I couldn't disrespect her memory by looking for this person and then, him possibly feeling some type of way about not being able to grow up with her. But my aunt mainly influenced me because, like I said, she left, she moved, she went to this huge city and she flourished. My aunt did not go to college, but she managed to become one of the top agents in a leasing firm that she worked for. She had her own home. She did everything for herself, and she did not let anybody tell her what to do. She did not live her life based off what other people told her or let somebody put her in a box. And that's the person I wanted to be. But my childhood had also done its damage. For many years, my aunt knew I was angry, even before I realized it. She knew I was suspect to lashing out when I had to see my mother, because, like I said, my parents split up when I was 16. My mother left. She moved to DC with my aunt, and because I was still in high school, she left me in that situation. Now, mind you, I was the stepchild. So every day after she left, I had to hear about my mother and this whole situation, to the point where a month out after my mom left, I left. But like I said, back to my aunt, she knew before I even knew I was angry. So this caused me to start having trust issues. It caused me to look for love in all the wrong places. It gave me an abusive relationship for 5 years. A child that I lost. But my aunt was always right there when I needed to just cry without me ever having to say what I was going through. Half of the things that I'm saying now, my aunt never even knew. But she was just there with open arms, feeling my pain without me actually telling her this is what is happening to me. And it's sad because it took her death to influence me the most. I remember at her funeral, one of my cousins coming up to me and saying, "Cindy told us to look out for you and to make sure that you would be okay." Even on my aunt's deathbed, she was worried about me. I was her baby. I was her favorite. My aunt was always there for me. And once she died, it started to make me wake up and think this is not how she would want me to live. After she died for a year, I cried almost every day. I still get emotional over it. For months, I actually had to have someone come into my home and monitor me and damn near force me to live. Someone in my home making me get up and making me eat, or just sit there and allowing me to cry myself to sleep without causing harm to myself. That person later turned out to be one of those crutches that I had learned to live off of, one of those bad relationships, something I turned to looking for love in the wrong places. And then it was like I felt my aunt saying, "This is not how I expect you to live." I started to feel her everywhere in my house. I felt her willing me to live. I felt her pushing me to be strong. I felt her giving me a voice. So since her death, I've completely tapped out of how much money I can make in the area of the current career that I'm in, which I completely learned with just a high school degree and putting in hard work like my aunt did. I am currently a dental lab technician, and I learned everything from starting out as a dental assistant and then going into the dental lab and just sitting there whenever my doctor wasn't busy and learning from the lab tech. So when I moved on from that job, I actually landed a job working as an actual dental lab tech, but I pretty much learned every area and I pretty much reached the cap for the state of Virginia. I actually make a little bit more, but I did all of this with a high school diploma. But, I've even taken this a step further and decided to go back to school to now pursue my degree in health services management. And I recently started to go back to DC. It's been 3 long years since the last time I went. This year actually was the first time I've gone back. I've started back speaking with my mother again. And I attribute all of these accomplishments to my aunt, who I know is still beside me, pushing me when I get down, but also smiling because she can see I stand on my own 2 feet now. I've had another child, and it's so funny because I still feel my aunt's presence. It's been almost 6 years, and when she giggles in her sleep, I know it's because my aunt is whispering in her ear. I know I've made her proud, and most of all, I know I've made myself proud. So, I no longer hide all of the pain that I used to go through. I no longer hide the abusive relationship that I had to deal with. And it's all because I feel my aunt pushing me to be strong.